John, the floor is yours.
What's up, fellas? How are you doing? Thanks for doing this today. Obviously, I hope this news doesn't upstage Brady's announcement here in Boston, but I'm. It's an honor to be given this opportunity. I think if you talk to anybody nationally about Coach Hafley, Coach Lukabu, this entire coaching staff, Pat's vision for this program and where it's headed, there's a lot of positive momentum. There's a lot of positive vibes out there. If you just getting around the players this morning at the workout, you can tell the excitement that they have for what's ahead of them. And, for an Irish Catholic kid from Scranton, Pennsylvania, who, my first NFL opportunity was with Tom Coughlin in Jacksonville and Pete Mitchell and Tom McManus and the J Fund. It was like BC South, Pete Carmichael. Obviously I understand a lot about the fabric and history of this place and how special it is. So, this is a great opportunity, but I take it very seriously because it's also a great responsibility. And after talking to some of these players, they're very hungry to get started. And, I couldn't be happier to be here.
Start things off with Donnie.
Hey, John, how are you doing?
Good, Donnie. How are you?
Not doing too bad. I imagine you weren't going to leave Notre Dame if the opportunity wasn't exactly right for you. What about this opportunity was right in your mind, and how are you a fit with BC?
That's a great question, Donnie. In fact, it's a hard decision. It was really like an emotional day yesterday to leave those players and those coaches. And I had, quite frankly, had talked to them about. I'd gotten calls from some NFL teams to go be a position coach. I had no interest in doing that because I thought I had a better job there. I had some other people call about coordinator opportunities. But when it came down to Coach Hafley in this program, that kind of changed everything. And that's what to me made it hard to talk to some of those guys, because it was kind of like, well, I thought you said you weren't, but I think they understood when they found out where it was. They have a lot of respect for this place. So we were up here 2 years ago, and we were lucky to get out of here with a win with an excellent team. And so it had to be all right. The place, the people, obviously Jeff and I worked together in Tampa. You knew then what was coming ahead for him. I think everybody did. He's gotten this opportunity and run with it to the nth degree. And it's sort of right on that verge of getting ready to take the next step. So to me, it was a no-brainer. And anybody I ran it by, from former NFL college head coaches to players, were like, wow, that's a great one. If you get a chance to get that, good luck to you. And I hope it happens. So it really had to be a no-brainer, which there aren't many out there, but this one was one of them.
We'll go to Rich.
Hi, John. Welcome to Boston.
Thank you.
A quarterback like Phil Jakovic in place, just talking about getting started with that, having that already in place, implementing your system.
Yeah, I think that's the huge advantage, obviously, because he's got some experience. Emmett got some experience this year. I think it's a couple things. Number one, that they can handle the operation. They've shown that they can handle the operation in a game, meaning it's just more than just handing off and throwing passes. It's managing the whole game. And the talent that those guys have shown, what I want to do is I want to talk with them about what they feel they're good at and where their strengths are. I want to watch all these games from last year and kind of have a vision. I don't want to just throw the book down and say, hey, here's the system. I want to make sure that it fits what they're comfortable with and that they're comfortable telling me whether they are or aren't. There aren't any plays that are going to save the season. Like, we got to run this play. I don't care if they don't want to throw it. If they can't get into it, that's fine. We just move on to something else, because, there are enough dynamic players here on the perimeter in the backfield that it's really going to be about getting the ball to them and letting them work. And so, not to beat around the number one thing is to have an experienced quarterback that's shown that he can do it at a high level. That is a huge advantage, and he's returning. That's a huge advantage. And I want to just spend as much time as I can possibly with that whole group to make sure they're comfortable with what we're putting in, because, Jeff and I talked about a lot of things. We had to evolve a lot on offense this past year at Notre Dame. We didn't just line up and mow people down. We had a whole new offensive line. We had 3 different quarterbacks playing. And so there are a lot of things at our disposal schematically. I just want to make sure they're comfortable to fill into that whole group. And I really, not to break new, I'm not trying to, I thought it was good that we played 3 quarterbacks this year at Notre Dame. Really, it came down to almost 2. Sometimes I got to 3 because of injury. But I think it's good because I think you have to involve everybody you can on your roster, especially these days in college football. So if there's a role for a couple guys to do it, then we'll make sure we let a couple guys have some chances in the games.
We'll go to Trevor.
Hey, John, welcome to Boston.
Thanks, Trevor.
I'm just curious your thoughts on Zay Flowers as a player. Obviously, you've seen him from afar, but to get to work with a guy like that every day must be a lot of fun. Just does he remind you of anyone you've coached, and just what stands out about him so far?
Well, he's a dynamic, hard-playing, football-loving player, and it's important to him. You can tell he's been in my office twice already. I've been here since 9 a.m. And I got to see him work out today and see how he leads that group. And I've seen him plenty on crossover tape, obviously, especially in 20 when we were all ACC, and then last year as well. And every time the guy was in games, he made ridiculous plays. That's what it felt like. Like it got to the point as we were watching cut-ups there, it was like, oh, this guy again. So I have already told him, Jalen, like, look, I'm going to lean on you guys to lead that group. And I'm going to give you X amount of opportunities. Like, to me, it's always who and then what. I mean, you have to, it's about the players. It's about speed sweeps and screens and making sure the guy touches the ball easily, early in the games and getting into it, and rely on him on third downs, rely on him in the red zone. I mean, in some ways, we're going to rise and fall on Zay in that group of whoever else gets in, Jalen, whoever else gets in that group of people, and we're going to have them do a lot of the work for the quarterbacks. Geez, that's a good question. He's a little bit, well, I hate to say faster than Anquan, but he's like he's so dynamic outside and in the slot. It's sort of a rare guy. Sometimes anymore guys are pinned down either way. I guess I probably shouldn't, probably a little early to make a comparison to someone, but I'm really, listen, he's part of the reason. I even said to Coach Hafley, like, are you sure this guy's staying? Because if, like, I get there and it's like, oh, by the way, he left, because anymore it's it's like Wild West free agency, college football. He's a big part of why I was really excited about taking the job, because he can get this thing started the right way. And then those younger guys who are very talented could see, okay, that's what it looks like. And we can continue to build on that tradition.
We'll go next to James.
John, what's up?
James, what are we doing here? We got Rutgers. This guy is a spy for Shiano, by the way, just so you guys know. So he's trying already to get Jeff to give away the game plan. This is wonderful apartment there in the back. No, I'm sorry, James. Go ahead.
How big is this for you personally to get another chance, Power 5 calling plays after, we don't need to relitigate what happened at Rutgers?
I know. I hope we're not going to relitigate that, but I appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah, listen, it's very important. That was not a great experience. I quite frankly don't think it was enough time to really find out how it was going to go. I thought the young quarterback was starting to play well, and then that was it. So, which was in the end somewhat of a blessing. I went to my alma mater for a season, won the Cotton Bowl, spent 2 years at Notre Dame, and now I'm back here at Boston College with an opportunity that I would have taken from there. So it really, in the end, was one of the better. I learned a lot. I think what Coach Haft just said about evolving from really a more of a comfort level on a true pro style offense to relying on that as part of your system, but having a lot of the college elements at your disposal as well, especially when you have athletic quarterbacks who can run and really do a lot of different things. It opens up a lot of possibilities that either I was not as comfortable or versed in at that time, or we weren't really set up to do. But either way, I think in those 3 years or whatever it's been, I've changed a lot. And, look, I'm older than I'd like to say, but I still am learning a lot about this game, and it changes all the time. And you see a lot of younger guys getting a lot of opportunities, which is well-deserved by them. I'm trying to learn from those guys too, because what we did on offense this year at Notre Dame was a lot different than anybody's done at Notre Dame for a while. And, I think that evolution for me personally has been fantastic. And I think I can bring a lot of that here to BC as well.
We'll go to Andy.
Hey, John, Andy Backstrom from Rivals.com. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Andy.
So, you just came from Notre Dame working with some pretty elite tight ends. What do you envision for the position group here at BC? I know you just got here, but in terms of personnel, you're not going to give anything away. But what do you think of this group and what they can do for you here?
Well, look, I think I would like to be, like, for instance, we're about 50% or more, like 12 and 13 personnel, and then the rest 11. I don't know, just off the top of my head from watching today, I think we'll have some 10. I think we'll have 11 for sure, which is one back, one tight end. I do think we need some 2 tight end sets. If 3 works, then so be it. I think a lot of times when you are able to get in some of those heavier sets, the 1 or 2 things that you're going to get from a defense, they're not going to spend all week working on it. It's hard to simulate. And so they're not just to run the ball either, depending on who the guys are. Maybe you take a shot or it's a quick throw or whatever. So I don't know if I know enough about the second and third tight end here, to know that that's feasible. But I would like to have some variety. I'd like to have some stuff where there's 2 backs in the game too. And it doesn't mean it means, we did a lot with Kyron Williams and Chris Tyree last year, for instance. One of them became a receiver. I think there's some dynamic guys here that can play those roles. And again, like I told Jeff, like when you have 100 guys on the team, so 50 guys on offense, I think you grind to see what guys can do. You find a role for them and you let them do it. Like I think the ball will go to Zay more than he, not that more than he wants, but more than he's used to, and Jalen and some of these other guys. But I think there's room to get other guys involved. And I think you need to, because all of a sudden something happens in a critical game. You don't want to bring a guy in who's never played. Anyway, I think I saw a lot of dynamic guys in that receiver group, maybe because I get to see them work out today. And I saw a lot of guys that I think could help us. I don't know. I can't say I know enough about the entire tight end group, but I would like to be multiple 11, 12, 13, 20, 21. I'd like to be able to do all of it and rotate through a lot. If that's feasible. That's our best guys.
Go next to Kevin.
Hey, Coach. Kevin Stone, New England Football Journal. Good to meet you.
Kevin, nice to meet you too.
So I actually want to pick your brain about recruiting. The national perspective on New England players and more specifically high school players has never been that great. What have you seen and, working with New England players, or do you have experience with New England players? And if not, what are you excited about, to see in this area?
Well, my first, I guess you'd say full-time job, I think it paid like $16,000, if I remember correctly, at UConn from 95 to 97. So 100 years ago, but Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Maine, that was my area, so I spent a lot of time recruiting a lot of these high schools up here at the time. It's funny you say that, Kev, because there are a lot of national recruits now in Massachusetts this year. I don't know if it's this, like when we would watch recruiting tape on Friday, now we had a couple Boston guys on our staff, Johnny Aylward, whose dad is a high school coach up here. I was like, this is 5 more guys from Boston. It seemed like that's all we were watching. And then we ended up offering a number of them. So I think sometimes, just being honest, it's a geographical thing. The guys get stopped at New Jersey and they don't go anywhere north, and they're looking at their watches going, I got to catch a flight and I want to get home for the weekend or whatever it is in their recruiting month that they're out. I think that's part of it. And I think that's been expanded now with the availability of the college film and the information on guys across the nation. Now you're kind of saying, hey, I better get up and see this guy. Where in the past, nobody got up and saw the guy. I remember being at UConn when they were 1AA going, nobody offered this guy, and a lot of them went and played at smaller schools and ended up playing professional sports or were great college players. So, look, I think if guys live football and they have talent, they have a chance to play 1A football. I mean, you're looking at, I walked on at Penn State, whatever. They didn't play me much. They actually like to win the games, but I'm saying, like, if you really want to do it and you have some sort of talent to it, then I think it's possible to do. And I think there are a lot of guys in different schools. I just said that to Jeff. I said, what if you took all the guys that the coaches are just banging the table for, that are like the inch short or the 10th slow or the whatever, but they will kill to play Division I football. Like, you can't take all of them, but maybe you take a few more of them and just make it work, because a lot of times those are the type of guys that'll win for you. So I don't know if that answers I think there are a lot of good players. I think they're just a lot of times just not recognized. And if you don't get recognized, sometimes you just go the way of, wherever they end up playing, or they just figure that they weren't good enough.
We're going to take two more for John. First with Jack.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good, Jack. How are you?
Good. So given all your experience, in the NFL and college, is there anything unique about your coaching style that you're looking to bring to this team?
You know what? That's a good question. I really like the way, Tommy Rees he's 29, I think, played at Notre Dame, got a big opportunity, obviously, to be the coordinator. I like the way that he handled the players, just as a lot more, I guess, relatability or conversations on the side, or I just like the way he handled his business, because, and I realized, like, I think for a lot of years, there's that finite amount of time and everything's boom, 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 fast. And you don't have a lot of grab the guy and bring him to the side and tell him, hey, this is what I really want from you. Sometimes those things get kind of lost in translation, or lost in, it's just everything's happening too fast, and you get in the season, you only have 2 days, and you're trying to. So, I just said it to one of the guys, like, Coach Freeman did a pretty cool thing yesterday when he called the team up and told them I was leaving, and they all got up, clapping, all came over, hugged, whatever. And I had conversations with guys from all positions that I didn't really have this past season, like a young receiver that I was like, listen, man, I love you. I think this is what's in front of you. I think you do this and this, you're going to be. I'm thinking, why didn't what was the difference about telling them that yesterday? You know what I mean? So I think I want this to be more of a, look, there's going to be hard accountability, and hopefully a lot of it in the end comes from the players, the leaders on our team. But there's going to have to be guys, there has to be accountability for doing things. But I don't want this to be some sort of transactional deal where I tell you do this, you do this. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. Maybe it shouldn't have happened ever. But I really want to have a good relationship with these guys and understand that, look, we got each other's backs. We're all we got. And so I want it to be a little more open back and forth. I mean, obviously, I'm going to have to hit them with an avalanche of information here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to have to get ready for spring. But even that, in my mind, I'm going to slow it down, because I want it to be more about them and they're working together to make this work. And me being rather than the complete driver with, like, the snow plow, maybe more just like with the shovel, just kind of saying, hey, look, push them along, and then say, can you, this is, what I'm looking for. Can you, what I mean? That type of thing. And I think I want to make sure that, especially in the first year, which going back to James's, question, I don't think I got to build enough relationships with enough guys, because everything was so fast and putting things in. I got to go recruit. I got to call this guy. I think it's going to be about those players, because I think there are enough of them that are dynamic. I think there are enough of them that care. They seem to be awfully excited to get started. I want it to be, I don't know if that makes sense, but I think I want it to be a little more of, I'm not the central figure in this thing. It's the quarterback. They're the central figures, and they're the ones that are going to get it done. And I don't care what we have a system that we want to start with, but at the end of the day, I want it to become their offense, and they take it and run with it. At least that's the way they see it. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I think I got a lot of work in front of me here to, number one, build a relationship before I worry about how we're going to get the playbook done.
And we'll wrap things up with Donnie.
John, what did working with Tom Coughlin mean to you, and what did you learn from him, and what kind of influence did he have in your career?
I would say the biggest influence of anybody I've worked with or for, because it was a lot of things. It was the time I was, I think, 28, when he hired me, or 29. I was working at a 1AA, college at UConn, and the energy and he drove the entire organization, the urgency, in February, March, April, as well as October, November, December. I remember the first time, and I don't think it was you I was talking to, Donnie, it was somebody in Scranton, and I said, these guys are like, it's the Super Bowl tomorrow. And I think it was like February 10th. You know what I mean? This before when the Super Bowl wasn't played on February 10th, by the way. This is right. So I just think he was able to articulate his vision for what he wanted with everything, from the equipment to the players, to the scheme, to the discipline, and relentlessly drive it. I think the thing that people got the misconception about Tom and the whole Giants transformation, and he became the new guy. I saw that every day because we were together every day for many hours of the day. I sat right next to him in the staff room for 5 years. And so you knew that this is one of the top people on earth, never mind top coaches ever. And the care that he had for his players, his family, his coaches, everybody in the organization, that he didn't ever want to show anybody, but believe me, he had it. You knew it. And he had your back in anything that would ever happen. And at the end of the day, he was always looking for more. Like you'd say, all right, here's our system. You know, we're doing well here. It's like, look, we can't keep running this stuff. Give me more. You know, let's say, now we didn't always use it, but he just wanted to know what's Denver doing, what's Shanahan doing, what's this guy doing, you know? So endless curiosity, relentless work ethic, but at heart, a tremendous person. And, you know, still to this day, if I call him today, boom, whatever you need. And I think there are, quite frankly, hundreds of people that feel that way. Coaches, players, whoever have been around him in their lives feel like Tom was always there for them. That's very unique. And so, you know, I can only hope to ever have someone say that about me. But I think if you talk to 100 people will tell you that same thing about Tom Coughlin.
John, thank you for all the time today. Everyone,
Thanks,
we
boss.
appreciate you joining. Thanks, guys.
Yes.